And on behalf of NoHoFUMC, we are just so elated and happy to welcome everyone here for the 34th annual North Hollywood Interfaith Food Pantry Thanksgiving Eve worship service. Thank you so much for spending time here with us this evening. A few housekeeping notes. Restrooms are located out the doors to your right in the breezeway closest to the Peace Bowl. And we also have restrooms to your left next to the kindergarten play area should you need that this evening. If you have an emergency or need assistance of any kind, we have ushers standing in the back. And again, raise your hand or go back and see them if you need any kind of assistance. I want to thank the volunteers that are here today. There are members of our church, of course, our congregation, but also parents and students from the Wesley School and performers from the London Rose Theatre Company, and we really thank you for helping us and for your time. Following this evening's worship service, we invite you to a time of fellowship and refreshments in our social hall, located out the south doors here to your right. You're going to make 2 lefts or right, and it'll be on your left-hand side. There is a lot of good, yummy food, so don't leave. Make sure you have some snacks before you go, and it's a wonderful time to share our lives with one another and get to know each other a little more. Now, let us bring our minds and hearts into focus as we come together in faith and thanksgiving. If everyone could just take a deep breath in and exhale. And let us focus and rise if you are able. We are going to do the invocation and then the processional hymn. Let us pray. Giver of life, we come here this evening with hearts overflowing in gratitude because you have done great things for us. Each of us here addresses you by so many names, and we are so thankful that you are multilingual. You came to give honor to the least, those forgotten, overlooked, and misjudged. You came to give first place to the last, those left behind, misunderstood, and undervalued. You came to give a warm welcome to the lost, those who are orphaned, abandoned, and destitute. Help us to be your ears to listen to their cries. Help us to be your voice, speaking out love and acceptance. Help us to be your feet, walking beside those in need. Help us to be your hands to clothe, feed, and shelter them. You came for the least, the lost, and the last of this world. Gracious God, hear our prayers and inspire us this hour to continue to be your hands and feet in a world so desperate for love and care. Amen. Amen. Please remain standing and open your red hymnals to number 89 for the processional hymn, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee.
join me in your bulletin with our litany of thanksgiving. We come from different faith traditions to give thanks together and celebrate the common work the Creator has called us to.
We give thanks for one another and for the work we share.
We gather because Thanksgiving is more than just a special day. It is a way of life for us.
We have been gifted in many ways to live with great generosity and thanksgiving to God.
May we appreciate and care for the earth that the loving Creator entrusted us with.
We celebrate God's goodness to our ancestors and God's continuing provision for us.
May we hear and respond to the cries of brokenness and the sighs of longing among us.
We seek not just to hear, but to understand. We desire not just to be aware, but to be involved.
May the blessing of abundance produce in us generous spirits and habits of sharing.
We will not forget the source of our plenty or take for granted what God has done for us.
Grant us, O God, to live peaceably with one another and with all you love, and to display thankfulness at the heart of all we do.
We will work together for the common good of each other and for the common good of our community, nation, and world.
May our giving thanks together help light drive out darkness.
We will give thanks together and drive out hate with love. Amen.
I invite Barbara Yalvin to come forward.
Good evening. I'm the volunteer coordinator at North Hollywood Food Pantry. I've been with them for 5 years, and every single day, Luis, our director, inspires me. I'd like to read something that my son, who's an educator up in Santa Clarita, sent to me when he was doing a unit for his middle school children on poverty. Opinion is really the lowest form of human knowledge. It requires no accountability or understanding. The highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our ego and live in another's world. It requires profound purpose larger than both self and understanding.
Good evening. My name is Jane Poole. I'm the Christian Education Director at Church of the Chimes, and I'm also on the Food Pantry Advisory Board, and I'm totally blessed to be here tonight. When Pastor Steve asked me to share a reflection on giving, my mind went into a multitude of directions. At first, it seemed a simple task. Just write and share what I know about giving. Simple, right? No. There's so many facets of giving. I thought about it and came to the conclusion that giving as a verb has legs, arms, ears, eyes, and especially a heart. Giving is a tangible act with roots in the acts of the heart. It's a powerful relationship within our souls. I would venture to guess, just by the mere fact that you are all here tonight, you are a giving person. And just as we are all different beings, our giving is as diverse as we are as individuals. As a giving body, we select the time, the place, and who to give to. For instance, a means of giving is to respond to the plethora of donation requests we get from organizations wanting to help their cause. And my prop here is, these guys, I got in the last 5 days. One of them had a really unusual, shall I say, tactic. They gave me checks, sample checks, 3 of them, One of them had 50, then 98, and then jumped to 300. And this was to push me to give. I didn't like to be pushed. And I don't think any of us like to be pushed to give. But we sit here in this lovely church because we care. We haven't been pushed here. We came here of our own free will. We made a meaningful, conscious decision to support the food pantry because we heard the call, a call for action. The question I am posing now is, can we give more? Can we increase our actions for the food pantry? This doesn't necessarily mean a larger monetary donation, although I have to admit that would be nice. I did some research on how to give more of ourselves and found a list of the top 10 ways to become a more generous giving person. One of the 10 points stood out to me. It's how we need to embrace gratitude. This reminded me of something that was shared with me that literally opened my eyes this past week. This woman wrote about uninteresting things we do around the house, but things that we need to be grateful for, such as to clean a house, something I'm not particularly fond of. But here she said it equals to a safe place to live. My mind began to shift. Doing laundry means we have clothes to wear. Washing dishes means we have food to eat. Lots of noise in the house means there are people in our lives that we love. This positive attitude shifted my thinking and bolstered me to think about how I can help the pantry more, as I am, in fact, a blessed person, and I know Louise is going to love to say that. I'm blessed to be surrounded by amazing giving people who inspire me to do more. People like Harvey, who spends hours and hours leading the bag-packing crews in the basement of Temple Beth El. Barbara, who you just heard from, who does so much behind the scenes of the pantry. And then there's Louise. All of these people and all the people on the advisory board and all the volunteers I come in contact with are truly extraordinary. I started my giving to the pantry in honor of March Luke, one of the founding members of the food pantry and a member of my old church. Little did I know how much I would get back in return. We give because we want to make a positive difference in the world. We give not to receive something for oneself or public recognition or praise. However, I will say that more times than not, giving does lead to getting. A funny example of this theory is years ago I used to live in New York City, and I joined a church and somehow found myself recruited to teach Sunday school. Marlene, the wonderful woman who was coaching me on how to teach a group of 24-year-olds, no simple task, provided some interesting incentive. She told me that when she started teaching Sunday school, she started getting parking spots by her apartment. And if any of you have lived in New York City, that is not an easy. I laughed and thought this was a very clever recruiting tactic. However, I have to say, sure enough, after I taught for a while, I did start getting parking spots by my apartment. God does work in mysterious ways. And last night, my friend Cordelia shared with me a mysterious sequence of events that will lead to 300 people affected by the Woolsey fire to have a Thanksgiving dinner, and another 300 people having dinner as well. For the last 10 years, she and 9 other women fundraise, prepare, and serve Thanksgiving dinners to 300 homeless people in downtown. Several months ago, Cordelia opened a new catering business in Malibu. Her business was miraculously untouched by the fires. The fire was 10 feet from her building. Her place was unscathed, but the homes around her were in ruins. As a result, she changed directions and decided to make Thanksgiving dinners for the people affected by the fire in her area. Someone mentioned this soon-to-be act of generosity to someone, who mentioned it to someone else, and Cordelia received a call out of nowhere this past week from the manager at the local Vaughn's grocery store. He heard what she was about to do and wanted to contribute. He told her to just come by the store and pick up some food that would go toward her overall effort. As it turns out, it wasn't just some food. 20 fully cooked, huge turkeys, and other preparations to complete 300 full Thanksgiving dinners. Cool thing here is this donation means the original funds that were diverted to feed these victims will not be diverted and can be spent to feed the homeless. So in total, because of this woman who was generously giving her time and this wonderful manager of the Vaughns, now 600 people will get a meal tomorrow. At the end of Cordelia's and my conversation last night, she said that she feels that the more she gives, the more she gets back in unexpected ways. Another heartfelt example is a result of the fires from up north. You may have heard about this inspiring story from Paradise, California, the town that was literally burnt to the ground. To muddle things more, the Paradise Adventist Academy was gone too. And one of the school's athletic teams found themselves in a very tough situation. Their volleyball team was supposed to play in their semifinal game, but some of the players had lost everything in the devastating wildfires, including their volleyball jerseys and all of their equipment. The school lost their equipment as well. And their match against Forest Lake Christian School suddenly felt very less important. For a high school volleyball team, making the state semifinals would normally be a big deal, but at this point it really wasn't. When their coach surveyed the players and their families about the game, the response did in fact become unanimous. They did want to play after all. It was really good to have something normal in our lives, to bring us together and bring our community together, one of the Paradise players said. So the team and its fans agreed to make the 80-mile trip south to Auburn for the game. There was just one problem. Many of the players no longer had proper jerseys or equipment. Some were planning to play in t-shirts with makeshift jersey numbers they painted on, but they put on with Sharpies. So when they arrived at Forest Lake Christian in Auburn, they got a huge surprise. An array of brand new jerseys, along with knee pads, food, and thousands of dollars in donations made overnight by a local shop. Each girl also received $300 gift cards to stores that they would normally shop at, as well as donated items from families that would need to restart their lives. Before the game, the Auburn school sent out messages to everyone they knew, and by the next day, the donation bins were overflowing. The whole front of the school was jam-packed full of donations. You couldn't even walk into the school from the front. It was hard to imagine, said one of the students. The Paradise School also received over $10,000 in donations for families at the school. One Paradise player said, "It was just a feeling of overwhelming love." Paradise unfortunately lost the game, but as the Paradise coach put it, "We have now been helped in so many ways. The girls and I have talked about it, and how when we get that opportunity, it will be our turn to give back and try to pass on this generous spirit and sense of community." The community that came together gave me a sense of hope and humanity. This just goes to prove we never know what will happen after we unselfishly give. These stories of acts of kindness are beautiful examples of giving and an inspiration for us to ponder. It could be a mysteriously hard to get parking spot, a hug, words of encouragement, volleyball uniforms, or friendships that we'll cherish forever. Thinking about the selfless actions of giving, I ask you to think about how you can become a more generous giving person than you previously have the food pantry, the cause close to all of our hearts. You never know what will happen when you do. Because it's all about the people, the heart-to-heart connection we create when people come to the distribution site Monday and Friday and receive a bag of food, bread collected from the bagel brigade, meats donated from stores, fruit from gardens and food forward, and bags of toiletries put together from students at Campbell Hall and other schools in our area. As the saying goes, it takes a village, and you, my friends, are the village. I'm going to include an inspiring quote written by Albert Schweitzer. "At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lit the flame within us. We thank you for giving selflessly and generously supporting this amazing organization and carrying the cause forward to the future. Because you have lit the flames within you, we can continue to help those in need in our community." Thank you.
As the choir is taking their places here, just real briefly, if you've never had the privilege of seeing handbells before, I want to tell you a little bit about the instrument, because I think it's appropriate for tonight. It's a very unique musical instrument. We have 9 participants, 9 people playing this one instrument. It's made up of 37 separate bells, but it's one instrument. 9 people, each doing what they can to achieve the goal of playing a piece of music. We all bring our gifts to the table for the things we're trying to accomplish. The piece we're going to play is called United. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do this without a microphone because you guys are here, but the microphone is there and they're over there. So we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't work, change it up. So this moment is called the Children's Moment. And I have the opportunity to share with you a story. Because from the point of view of Jewish tradition, and I happen to be a rabbi, if the beard and the baldness didn't give it away, we love stories. So here's a story for you, but the truth is, we're all children of God, so it's for all of you as well. So here's how the story goes. So once upon a time, there was this man, lived in this small, itty-bitty little house with his wife, his 5 sons, and his 5 daughters. And it got really loud in that house. Really loud. Every day he'd come back from work, from tending to the different animals in the farm, he'd come back into the house, and there'd be noise. His wife would be talking to him, his children would be yelling, the boys would be beating each other up, the girls would be beating each other up. Occasionally the girls beat the boys up. But here's the thing, it was so noisy he couldn't take it anymore. So he went to see the Reverend, and he said, "Reverend, you've got to help me. My house. It's this small little house, but my wife and my children, there's so much noise, I can't deal with it anymore." And so the Reverend looked at the man and said, "What do you do?" He says, "Well, I'm a farmer." He goes, "Good, you're a farmer, so you have animals." He says, "Yes." He says, "Do you have a cow?" And the man says, "Yes, I have a cow." So he says, "Good. I want you to take the cow and I want you to bring it in the house." And the man looked at the Reverend and he goes, "But Reverend, that's Meshuggah." Now let me explain for a moment. Meshuggah is the Hebrew word for crazy. Kind of like if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, would you like some peanut butter on your pasta? Would you like some tomato paste in your milkshake? Would you like some ketchup on your latkes?" All of these things. All of these things are considered to be crazy. So the word Meshuggah means crazy. Generally, it's not used with the word reverend in the same sentence, but this is an interfaith service, people. Get with the program. So, man said, "Okay, Reverend, you're a wise man." So he brings the cow into the house. Now, he's got his wife, he's got his 5 sons, he's got his 5 daughters all making noise. But now there's a cow that immediately went into the living room, sat on the couch, and started watching TV. And the cow would just go, "Moo!" and make even more noise. So the man went back to the Reverend. He says, "Reverend, my house, it's getting really loud because I've got the wife, I've got the children, and now there's a cow on the couch watching TV going, 'Moo!' Do you have any advice to help me here?" And the Reverend said, "Let me ask, do you have any goats?" And he said, "Well, Reverend, I'm a farmer. Of course I have goats." He says, "Good. I want you to take your goats, I want you to bring them into the house." And the man looked at the Reverend and goes, "But Reverend, that's Meshuggah!" And he says, "Do it anyway." It's fine. So he takes the goat in the house. So immediately the goat goes into the kitchen, starts eating the wallpaper off the kitchen wall. Now, you have the wife, 5 sons, 5 daughters, and there is a cow in the den, in the living room watching TV, and there's a goat in the kitchen eating the wallpaper. So he goes back to the Reverend. He goes, Reverend, it's getting worse in my house, not better. Not only do I have my wife and I have my children, but there's a cow in my living room watching television going moo. There's a goat going bah in my kitchen eating the wallpaper. Do you have any advice? Can you help me here, please? I'm going crazy." Says the Reverend, "Do you have any ducks?" And the farmer goes, "I'm a farmer. Of course I have ducks. What do you want me to do?" "I want you to bring the ducks in the house." So he goes, "But Reverend, that's Meshuggah!" He says, "Do it anyway." He goes, "Okay, I'll do it." So he goes, and he takes the goat, brings it, or the duck, takes the duck, brings it in the house. Immediately, they all go into the bathroom, into the bathtub, and start swimming around. Now, along with the wife, the 5 sons, the 5 daughters, there's a cow in the living room couch watching television. There's a goat eating wallpaper off the kitchen wall. Now there are ducks going quack, swimming in his bathtub. And the man is starting to twitch in places he didn't know existed before. And so he goes back to the Reverend. He goes, "Reverend, my house, it's getting worse. Not only do I have my wife and my children, but now there's a cow going moo sitting on the couch watching television. There's go-bum-ba in the kitchen eating all the wallpaper. There's ducks in my bathtub going quack, swimming. Please help me. Help me. Make it better for me. The Reverend says, you have any chickens? And he looks at him and goes, of course I have chickens. I'm a farmer. What do you want me to do with the chickens? Bring them in the house. Of course. But Reverend, that's for sugar. He says, do it anyway. So he does it. So he brings it in. Chickens immediately go into the bedroom and start laying eggs on the pillow. And so now, the man has not only his wife and all of his children, but he's got a cow on the couch going moo, watching television. He's got to go in the kitchen, eating the wallpaper, going bah. He's got ducks swimming in the bathtub going quack, and now there are chickens going quack, laying eggs on his pillow. And he comes back to the Reverend. He goes, Reverend, please, you got to help me. I can't do it anymore. Please help me. Help me. What do I do now? My house, it's crazy. And the Reverend says, I want you to take all the animals. And the man waited. And I want you to take him out of the house. Take him out of the house, Reverend. Take him out of the house. And so the man does exactly what the Reverend asked. And he takes him out of the house. A day later, he comes back to the Reverend. He goes, Reverend, thank you so much. He says, how's your house? He says, it is so quiet. Only my wife and my 5 sons and my 5 daughters. It's just terrific. It is very easy to lose sight of what we have. And in losing sight of what we have, it's very easy to become ungrateful, unappreciative. Right? What this story is about is reminding us of all the blessings we have. All the noise, all the chaos, all the mess around us. It's not something that we should shy away from, but it's something that we should embrace. Because that means that there are people around us and that we are surrounded by love. What the man lost sight of is that what he had was really quite beautiful and quite wonderful. And bringing the animals in reminded him of exactly what a real mess and real noise can start looking at. And that's the challenge for all of us. And I'm looking at you, but I'm thinking of all of us. All of us have so many ways in which we are blessed, but we just aren't aware of it. We just lose that sense of gratitude. And when we lose that sense of gratitude, we also lose the sense that we have enough. And when we don't feel like we have enough, we don't give. This story reminds us that we all have more than enough, and that our hearts should be open and be willing to give to those who do not have. And in giving, we fulfill what it is to be part of and to celebrate Thanksgiving each and every day, not just this time of year. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask everyone to rise briefly as we bless the food that has been donated here to all of us. Our God, source of all life, and the one who calls all life into being, we thank you for the bounty of this food that we have here, and for the generous hearts that bring this food and bring food to the North Hollywood Interfaith Food Pantry each and every week. May this food serve to nourish those who do not have, and may we be inspired by this giving, seek to nourish those around us, so that we may bring peace into our world. And we all say, Amen. Amen. May be seated.
Please join me in the litany of thanks as printed in our order of worship. O God, to whom we come so often with needs to be satisfied, we come to you now in gratitude for what we already have and are.
For gifts beyond deserving or counting, we give you thanks.
You have given us the ability to become more than we have been, the urge to be more than we are, and a gnawing hunger to attain heights only dimly imagined.
With the power to grow, we give thanks.
You have endowed us with the capacity to distinguish between right and wrong, enabled us to follow what is right and help us to avoid the wrong.
For the power to choose, we give thanks.
You have blessed us with the ability to fashion things of beauty, to sing new songs, to spin new tales, to add to the treasure house of human civilization.
For the power to create, we give thanks.
You have fortified us with the ability to rise above disappointment and failure, to go on after we have been bruised and bereaved, and to refuse to submit to defeat and despair.
For power to hope, we give thanks.
You have enlarged us with the ability to cherish others, to make their lives as dear to us as our very own, to share their hopes, to feel their hurts, to know their hearts.
For the power to love, we give thanks.
You have ennobled us with the strength to overcome our faults, to mend our ways, and to answer the summons to turn to you with all our heart and soul.
For the possibilities of renewal, we give thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Luis Sawyer. I'm the director of the Pantry, and it's once a year we get this opportunity to be in the room together, and I want to take the advantage of, we have some new friends in the house too. But before I get to all of that and put some of those folks on the spots, we are giving thanks together, and I just need to say some thank yous to our staff. First off, Pastor Steve, thank you for showing up so strong, taking the initiative around this. A lot of times we're more involved and we could do better. You, sir, own this, and you showed up strong, and your congregation has always been a big force with the school and everything else, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Rabbi Sarah, the Pantry is the equivalent of $1 million nonprofit business. There's under 200 people that volunteer. There are core folks that actually move the food. It's a massive distribution movement. It's not like we have this big warehouse and everyone's got the same shirt. We've got all these multiple fleet of trucks. We're figuring it out where one place stores the food and packs the food, and the next place distributes the food, and they collect the food here. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of synchronicity, and a lot of management. But here I have this wonderful rabbi in her temple that has 250,000 pounds, like a warehouse, coming through it while she's running a school and a house of worship. So it's important to me that you know that that is awesome, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't thank you for putting up with this. I know it's a good thing, but it's tough stuff. With that being said, it's our staff that manages that. Leslie Edelman's been there the longest, to my knowledge, and Leslie, when you're packing, as much as you've been an amazing packing person and dedicated, there were times that I sent special needs kids to you, and the way you own that and help those children learn, have purposefulness, I will always be grateful for you. And you and Harvey missed your calling, but you have a second calling the way you own that. So thank you for packing all that food. But remember, in my mind, it's a confession here, that in my mind, the Pantry is an educational organization far beyond a food distribution organization. It is a portal of trust for our clients, but we are teaching. It is incumbent upon us, and we've always been that way, to teach the community, to teach our children how to do the right thing and how to be kind. And you can see with the small, enthusiastic crowd, we are outnumbered, so we have to be smarter than the other guy. And we are doing that. And these are the staff that helps us. Harvey, I want to thank you, and all the guys from the Adat Ariel Minyan. Rabbi, I don't know if they cut out early. They might, if you see them cutting out early, just know they're coming over on Fridays, and they're bringing the best bakery goods and coming over there. Kiki, can you stand up for a second? Just stand up. Back there, that's Facundo Vasquez. His name is Kiki's our nickname, and he shows up because the seniors at the truck. Kiki does a million things for the Pantry, but sometimes we have loads of 10,000 pounds. And the guys are all seniors. Their backs cannot move that. They make me nervous because they're a little overly zealous and they think they can still do something. And Kiki helps those folks. And something you need to know, one of our greatest triumphs, Kiki, I have never met a man that has come from more oppression and persecution than you, sir. And I have never seen a man's arc be at the level where you are here today. And I'm just telling you in front of all these amazing human beings, you are an honor. talking about Barbara, so we have to bottle her up in some brand just to give her some accolades. But if I've ever written an amazing letter, and I've written amazing letters that have gotten more kids into college, I've written letters that have gotten guys that had a checkered past and they're working in stable jobs now. We help people at the Pantry launch into a new life. Security guards that come, we give them more opportunities there, answering phones, and then they look better on their resumes. We launch people. Barbara, and all those letters that I've written that have gotten all those kids into college are due to Barbara and my girlfriend, who actually write them, and I sit there, no, that's not what I meant, this is what you meant. And they do it, and I want to thank you for that. Barbara is our volunteer coordinator, who basically, at the Pantry, we interview all the volunteers to find the champion in everyone. I don't care what your challenges are physically, mentally, economically, where you come from, we will figure it out and find a place for you. So it's important that you let people know that we distribute purposefulness, if that's something that's grammatically correct. I don't know. Then we have, of course, the transportation team, where Maggie and they're schlepping all the 15,000 bags from the temple, and then we're running them over 3 times a week to the distribution site. We're filling them all up, and we're doing all of that, and then we distribute it. And that's kind of the cycle. It goes, and we get most of the food from LA Regional Food Bank, half of it, and then the other half comes from all of you, the schools, the congregations. It's a model by design that's self-sufficient to help the community. The church has garden programs. They've taught us how to take care of something, so now we have fresh vegetables. As Jane described, Food Forward, 50,000 pounds of fruit go out to our clients a year through Food Forward, in addition to 50,000 pounds of bakery goods go out through the Bagel Brigade. These are separate armies that meet us up, and we just function as distribution for them. Scotty, can you stand up for a second? I'm doing it to you. I'm doing it to you because you deserve it. Because, you know, we're here all year round. Scotty, with Food Forward, when someone's got to go to the orchards in Beverly Hills and pick up the fruit, when Scotty's got to go to various sites throughout the neighborhood where they've picked the fruit, he picks up for the Pantry. And the thing that Scotty and I have been able to develop is that we have exceeded our demand as far as our clientele, meaning we have too much fruit and we don't have the storage for it. So we have to get rid of the fruit. So now we have a whole network of halfway houses and shelters just in our district, folks, in District 2 here, where Scotty is going regularly with any excess that we have, and we're going right to the communal kitchen. So those people who are trying to get their jobs and get their life together are coming. They don't even have to come to the Pantry at times, and they can just move on. So Scotty's helped with that, and you too, Scotty. You're an honorable man, and I want everybody to recognize you because you're really the one, you and Keek, are doing a lot. Okay, so thank you. Distribution teams, Beth and Doris and Vicky and everyone, you know, it's a portal of trust over there. I encourage you all to come and visit the Pantry when they're breaking bread or they're giving food, because I've learned that it's really building that trust relationship, which is an essential component to the thing we're all talking about, and it's the homeless epidemic that's happening. Oh my God, what's going to save us? Well, relationship has always been at the forefront of what we do here. And as an organization, remember folks, our founders, they marched on Washington. Remember, this program is an extension of the Valley Interfaith Council, which some of those women were part of at the very beginning, 50, 60 years ago. So, reacting and designing something to basically say, we don't like the way the human beings, the human condition is in our area, and we're not going to tolerate that. We're a faith-based organization, so we're going to figure it out. We're going to bridge the gap where social services can't get to the effectiveness, the bureaucracies can't get and be effectiveness on the street, and they designed the Pantry. That's exactly what they do. It was a model by design. So here we are 35 years later, okay? And now we've got this homeless epidemic. Now in our battles and our fighting that we're all doing, we lose a few people. This year we lost the great Gail Heaney from Church of the Chimes. And she was an amazing woman, and I'll just tell you how amazing. When I first became director, you know, we're a coalition of churches and temples, and I'm looking at rabbis and all the clergy. You guys know, I mean, congregations go up, they go down. It's like one big mutual fund, the Pantry. You know what I mean? It is. It's a big old mutual fund. And it goes, and all of a sudden I see these checks. and it was from the World, what was it called? The World Something Fund. And just tons of them, it was just checks were coming from Church of the Chimes saying, they've been dormant for so long, what is going on? There was, talk about the little train that could. They were so consistent about funding, and she was always at the, and she wasn't even a temple representative. A congregational representative there. A church rep, got that right. There you go. Anyways, she was just such a strong person and such a strong presence. And then when she got the cancer, she was a fighter, and she showed up. And like most of our volunteers, they show up till their bodies give out. I've seen it a million times. I've seen March Luke. I can't hear you at the board meeting. She couldn't see. She couldn't walk. We're carrying her, and they go till they can't go any longer. And that's the kind of toughness the faith-based community comes from. We're tough. We know what needs to be done. We know there's not a lot of thank yous in there. We know we got to stick together. We're outnumbered, folks. So now's the time to unify, and that is happening. I just wanted to tell you where we're going. There's some great things happening with our fight to help reduce the homeless in our neighborhoods. We are cooperating with LA Family Housing. You know about all those initiatives that we've passed. We are in relationship with the mayor's office. We are in relationship with Councilman Krikorian's office. We are in relationship with the state. Okay, but what we're doing right now is we're pulling it all together with numbers. So one of the first big plays is my buddy Lewis. Lewis, you can just stand for just a second. This is Lewis. He's the deacon from St. Charles, the outreach program. You know the Bob Hope Center over there? That's Lewis. He's been in my cell phone for years. He's not in our brochure, but we are always talking. And so Lewis has been at the table with the NoHo Alliance with Reverend Stephanie, who's basically sits the folks down, our clients, and we're routing all of our clients to her on Wednesday so they can sit down, they can assess people, they have the comforts of home, they've got a bag from the pantry, and they can come in there and get assessed, and then LA Family Housing is helping them. Now you say, well, LA Family has no place to put them, etc., etc. A lot of that is true, but we've been visiting with them too because we're smart folks. We have smart operational people, we have policy people, and what we're doing is we're directing them in there. We're not discrediting anybody in their job. We don't have the luxury of blame in this stage of the game, folks. But we are going to support them, and they are going to be supported. And that's where we're going with this. So I've got a call from Valley Beth Shalom, the temple over there. They've got things going on. They're interested. They've met with us. We're educating. We're talking. We're figuring out how to do things specific for their districts, and we're moving district to district. My mother told me Gandhi and Martin Luther King wished they dreamed bigger. Well, I'm telling you, if we continue to do what we're doing and unify district to district, there's 15 in the city of Los Angeles. I want to take back the city. I want to take back the city with the faith-based organizations, stay unified, and teach people how to be kind, how to find balance in housing, to be affordable, to live with in a dignified existence. So I won't bore you to death with all the detail, but it's important to me that you hear that. I appreciate you all. Stay close to the people you love, folks. Thank you so much for supporting the Pantry. Amen.
So I just want to add a couple of other recognitions. You have seen a large number of young people running around. Most of them are students from the Wesley School, which is a partnership that we have here on our campus. They are a private school from kindergarten through 8th grade. They are their own entity, but we love the work that we do together. And these kids have been collecting food for the pantry specifically so they would be able to bring it tonight. We also have kids that are from the YMCA and a part of their youth in government program. They meet here on Thursday nights, and they were very excited to be able to come and help. And we also have a couple of people from the London Roads production company that are here to help us out again tonight. So we give thanks for our members and for all of our partners who are here to help make this evening a great time together, and one that will impact many, many people's lives. This is the time when we pass the plates, and we hope that you will, we just want you to know that all of the money we collect tonight is going to the food pantry. And we hope that your donation and what we give together will impact lives for the year to come. Will you pray with me? Oh, Creator God of all, we have asked you to bless the food that we have collected, and now we ask that you would bless what we have given monetarily. We pray for the lives that they will touch. We pray for the difference that it will make, that we will retake the city as we give thanks together. And all of God's people said, Amen.
Is it fair to say that this too is what a rabbi looks like? Not so much, but great assembly member? Yes. We read from Psalm 133. Shir Hamalot David, Hinei Matov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Keshemen Chatov Al Harosh, Yared Al Hazaken, Zaken Acharon, Sheyared Al Pi Midotav. Ketzal Charmon, Sheyared Al Harei Tzion, Hisham Siva Adonai, Et HaBracha Chayim Ad Ha'olam.
Psalm 133, a pilgrimage song of David. Look at how good and pleasing it is when brothers and sisters live together as one. It is like expensive oil poured over the head, running down onto the beard, Aaron's beard, which extended over the collar of his robes. It is like the dew on Mount Hermon, streaming down onto the mountains of Zion, because it is there that the Lord has commanded the blessing, everlasting life.
How good and how pleasant it is when brothers and sisters gather together. There are many stories about how powerful we are when we are united. And maybe you know a little bit about Steve Jobs and his technology alone is not enough mentality. You see, in 1986, shortly after he was forced out of Apple, he thought, I'm going to buy a small computer company, manufacturer named Pixar. In 2000, he relocated Pixar to an abandoned Del Monte canning factory, and the original plan called for 3 buildings with separate offices for computer scientists, animators, and the Pixar executives. Separate fields, separate interests, separate buildings. Then Jobs thought more, and he said, no, I'm going to scrap this plan. And he decided instead of 3 buildings, he would have 1 large building with a central atrium. Philosophy behind the design was that it's good, very good, to put the most important function at the heart of the building, this atrium. Well, what's the most important function? For him, it was the interaction of the employees. That's why Steve put this big empty space in the middle, because he wanted individuals to talk to one another in an open environment. He thought they would do better if they were together. For him, it wasn't just about creating a space, though. He needed to make people go to the atrium. It's easier to stay in our distinct areas, in the areas that hold us best, the places that we are most comfortable. So what did he do? He decided to fill the atrium with things that would draw folks close. What do? You put a coffee. It's good, you have some coffee. What do? You put a cafeteria. What do? You keep creating places for people to come together. He knew that technology would inspire art, and art would challenge the technology, but none of it works if you're not in the same space. And so, Brad Bird, the director of The Incredibles and Ratatouille, he describes the atrium. He says the atrium initially might seem like a waste of space, but Steve realized that when people run into each other, when they make eye contact, things happen. Jobs insisted that best creations occurred when people from disparate fields were connected, especially in an age of intellectual fragmentation. Folks, what does this North Hollywood Interfaith Food Pantry do? It takes people from disparate places and connects them together. Connects them with our clients, who then become our staff. We see one another face to face and eye to eye, and we see that we're all created in God's image, and we all have our unique talents. We figure out the best way to bring a volunteer on board and how they can be of best service. We figure out how to bring a temple together with a church, together with a school, together with another school, with another one, and another one, and another one. And then we figure out how to make these partnerships to take back the city. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we're better when we're together and when we share the space with one another. We're blessed in our little East Valley area to really start building these bridges. We're really working hard at seeing one another. These beautiful chimes, beautiful bells, could not have done what they did. They weren't working side by side, tucking personal ego away to create beauty and seamless music. It flowed and it inspired because they worked together. We don't do anything on a local level without going further to the city and further to the state. He knows what it means to bring people together.
Rabbi Bernhard, I'm balding and I have facial hair.
Hello, rabbis!
I only wish I continue having at least half the wisdom that you have for the sake of all of us. And I can continue going on with some of the other stories. You were talking about Michigan, and I come from the capital, so I work in the capital, so. Whole other story. I think Mark Twain said, your kids and spouses and farm animals are safe. Congress is not in session. I just wanted to point something out that took me some time. As a child, I grew up listening to classical music because of my father's influence. And so on occasion, I had the opportunity to see the orchestra perform. And it was really fascinating to see a 60, 70, 80-piece orchestra performing and in unison getting this one piece of music out. And it was wonderful. And it gave me a completely different sense than just listening to a cassette or LP or the radio, because then you can start appreciating every single instrument. Because when you see it, you have the interpretation. But I could never for the life of me, as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, understand what the conductor did. And I always questioned it. I questioned it for a very long time. It wasn't until my early adolescent years, teenage years, that I finally understood and appreciated that it was the direction, the mentoring, the leadership. Leadership is a hard concept sometimes because it works in mysterious ways. You don't exactly know how someone leads and how it's effective and what difference it's making. And it's very easy for even leaders themselves to kind of be lost in that because you're still one component in a major operation. You sometimes don't know how you are able to contribute what you contribute. So thank you, Rabbi Ronsky, for talking about how we try to bring people together, but it's the very pieces, hopefully, that we bring together that are the very effectiveness that we're able to make a difference with. But it wasn't until a certain age, about my teenage years, that I realized how important it is to have someone, that leader, that person that holds the baton, that's able to actually bring the harmony together, the crescendo, the climaxes, and the denouements also together. And sometimes I don't know if there's a central figure in the line of work that we're in leadership and progressing communities forward. I don't know if there's a central figure, if it's the challenge, that conductor is the metaphor for the challenge that we're trying to address, or it's the embodiment of all of our collective efforts that comes together and tries to address a certain issue. But I know that no one has the answer. It only works when everyone is involved. Government doesn't work if the public doesn't participate. Thank God this last November, 2 weeks ago, more of us participated. And I hope if anything happens, and this is nonpartisan, that this administration, in 20 years, we're going to look back and say, again, this has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat, but that this administration forced more people to want to read. Newspapers went back into business. More people wanted to vote and participate. It kicked our behinds to want to actually come and be part of the solution. So homelessness, you're right, is an epidemic, and it's been in the workings for at least 5 decades. It's been one small cut after another cut after another cut. It's been a death of 1,000 cuts. It's finally come to a place where now that it's in front of our homes and doorsteps, we want to address it. The only way we're going to be able to address it is if we collectively work, whether it's the public, civic leaders, spiritual leaders, financial, economic leaders. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the solution. I hope continuously to work with you.
Will you join me in the responsive reading? We cannot only pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in such a way that we must find a path to peace within ourselves and with our neighbors.
We cannot only pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world, if only we would use them wisely.
We can not only pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if only we would use them rightly.
We cannot only pray to you, O God, to end despair, for you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope, if we would only use our power justly.
We can not only pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healings, if only we would use them constructively.
Therefore, we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, and willpower, to use as able to pray, to become steadfast in wish.
For your sake and for ours, speedily and soon, that our land and world may be safe, and that our lives may be blessed.
So we pray that you that we do be acceptable before you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer.
We've made it. It's been a glorious time together, and I've enjoyed having you all here at the First United Methodist Church of North Hollywood. I do want to remind you that we have a reception, so there's food and refreshments in the social hall. You'll want to come out the front exits and go that way. It's a little bit of a maze, but it's pretty straightforward. You'll hear the voices and see the lights, and but we also have kosher food as well. We made sure we've got kosher food, so it is an interfaith smorgasbord. And we do hope that we will continue this time together when the service is complete. I invite you to stand and receive our closing blessing. May the God who created us and the Spirit that joins us together empower us to go. To not just give thanks together, but to do good together. Go in peace, my brothers and sisters, after we sing the closing hymn, which the page is there, so you can pull out your red hymnals and let's join together in song.